On Monday, August 25th, 2025, a gargantuan dust wall, known as a haboob, rolled into Phoenix metropolitan area, casting the city into an eerie twilight during the evening rush hour. What began as a typical monsoon-triggered thunderstorm near Tucson intensified into a formidable outflow wind, barreling westward and lifting fine particles of sand and dust into a colossal, roiling cloud. As the wall of dust surged across the desert plain, visibility near Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport collapsed to less than 165 feet. In Santan Valley, wind gusts reached 80-plus miles per hour, and at Sky Harbor Terminal buildings, the gusts topped 70 miles per hour. The region was reeling from sudden darkness, flying particulate matter and howling winds. In the space of minutes, the day's familiar landscape dissolved. Streetlights flickered, palm fronds snapped, overhead transformers clicked violently, and traffic lights faded into silence. Highways like Interstate 17 became treacherous, with dust and wind-generated flash flooding transforming roads into slick, sandy torrents. Trees collapsed, power lines buckled, and traffic signals blinked out entirely. Thousands of residents lost electricity. In some locales, like Arizona City and Marana, flattened roofs and crooked trees dotted the neighborhoods as a testament to the storm's force. Many described conditions so extreme that they couldn't see their hands in front of their faces, while dust penetrated closed homes and vehicles, coating interiors in a thin, gritty film. Flights at Sky Harbor were delayed, some saddled at gates by high winds. Others were grounded as visibility vanished. As the dust wall passed, an intense but relatively brief event. Cleanup crews scrambled to restore power, clear terminals, and re-coordinate flight operations. Amid chaos, some locals still noted a strange sense of awe, describing the storm as both terrifying and beautiful, like a scene from a desert myth. The haboob, born of Arizona's monsoon season, was no stranger to the region, yet the sheer scale and suddenness of this wall of dust marked it as extraordinary. This dramatic event in Phoenix belongs to a broader tapestry of dust storm history, one woven of harsh winds, dry land, and dramatic shifts in both environment and human society. To truly grasp the magnitude of dust's power, we must travel back nearly a century to the Dust Bowl era. In the early 1930s, a severe drought struck the Great Plains, stretching from Texas to Nebraska, Kansas to New Mexico. In the 1920s, newly settled areas have been extensively plowed under, prairie grass replaced with wheat crops, often on marginal land. When a prolonged dry spell began in 1930, crop failure was widespread. The land turned powdery. With the native root systems gone, there was nothing to keep soil anchored. Then came the infamous black blizzards. On September 14, 1930, the first recorded dust storm of the era bore down, an ominous wall of gray and black dust that darkened the sky, shorted out cars, and left people blind with static. But even that was a harbinger of what was to come. The storms only increased. On November 11, 1933, a massive storm stripped topsoil from South Dakota farms. Then came May 1934. 2 consecutive days of wind-driven devastation that carried millions of pounds of dust as far east as Chicago, Cleveland, Boston, and New York City, blotting out famous landmarks in dust. Red snow fell in New England that winter. Then came Black Sunday, April 14, 1935. Calm morning temperatures in the 80s were shattered just before afternoon. A Canadian cold front dove south, whipping up a billowing wall of dust that plunged the plains into darkness. Visibility dropped to zero. Residents could not light lamps. There wasn't enough oxygen for flame to stay lit. It was sudden. It was total. It was apocalyptic in scale. Estimates suggest hundreds died, some from dust pneumonia, and hundreds of thousands were displaced. The term Dust Bowl was coined by an Associated Press reporter in 1935 to capture the scale and tragedy of what was happening. Over the rest of the 1930s, dust storms continued in massive numbers. 40 severe storms in 1935 alone, 61 by 1938, cumulatively stripping hundreds of millions of tons of topsoil across the high plains. By 1935, some 162 million acres had been affected, with 5 inches of topsoil lost over some areas. The fallout was human as well as environmental. Migrants, often known as Okies regardless of their state of origin, fled west, many to California's San Joaquin Valley, in search of work. John Steinbeck captured their plight in The Grapes of Wrath. Dorothea Lange's photographs immortalized their suffering. Woody Guthrie sang of their journeys. The crisis reshaped the nation. New Deal programs such as the Soil Conservation Service and federal projects planting shelter belt trees and promoting deep root planting were launched to restore both the land and hope. Nearly a century later, dust storms still carry risk and symbolism, albeit in different contexts. In 1977, in Bakersfield, California, a powerful dust storm, unleashed by drought and seasonal land conditions, blacked out the sky. Temperatures dropped. Winds roared near 190 miles per hour. Swamp coolers flew off roofs. Roads were buried in dust, and 5 lives were lost. Cleanup was slow and labor-intensive. On November 29, 1991, another tragedy unfolded along Interstate 5 near Coalinga. A sudden dust cloud reduced visibility to near zero, triggering a 104-vehicle pileup. 17 died. Over 150 were injured, including first responders. A deadly reminder that even modern land infrastructure is vulnerable when nature converges with dry landscape. These events, modern and historical, underscore a constant. Dust storms are both natural and human-amplified, dramatic and dangerous. Today, dust storms are a growing concern in parts of California's Central Valley, where fallow farmland and development have increased dust exposure, along with public health concerns such as valley fever, respiratory illness, and traffic hazards. Yet, even amid danger, dust storms often come with a strange allure. To stand in their shadow is to witness the raw power of earth and wind, the sky darkening, the air thickening, the world shifting. Back in Phoenix, the August 25th, 2025, haboob reminds us of that duality. In just minutes, an ordinary afternoon became a metaphor for vulnerability. Visibility gone, infrastructure scrambled, homes and lives disrupted. But people endured. Cleanup crews replaced power lines, flights resumed, streets cleared. Authorities monitored, residents recovered. In Arizona's arid monsoon climate, haboobs are a known phenomenon, yet each one carries unpredictability. And a link to that ancient history of dust bowl storms, dust-driven disasters born of dry land, poor soil conservation, and powerful winds. They remind us that our landscapes, when stressed, can become our adversaries. Dust storms also compel reflection, not just on hazard and harm, but on humanity and adaptation. In the 1930s, the Dust Bowl spurred federal action, soil conservation, migration, but also empathy through art and literature. A century later, awareness of dust toll continues to grow. Climate change, land use practices, and population growth all frame contemporary dust risks. As we look ahead, we must ask, can we act with the same resolve, the same compassion, the same long-term vision?